Hi, this is Kim Droptiny reading Beyond the Echo Cavern by BreAnna Teschendorf. I'm on chapter 33, How Charlie Fought. Charlie was looking around frantically, wishing for a rock or a staff, wondering if he should grab the fire dust from his pocket and throw it at the snakes. But he knew he didn't have enough. Then a strange urge came over him. In that moment of deepest fear and desperation, he felt a sensation in his stomach he had never felt before, and it rose within him, filling his body from his toes to his fingertips and pressing at his lungs. A song. He remembered Hymnia's words, that there was a song inside of him, and he mustn't be afraid to sing it. He didn't even have time to think about how silly it was to sing just then, or to think about the words he would sing. At the very moment when Gondel raised her hands in the air, he simply opened his mouth, and with all of his might he sang. His song pulsated through the cavern. It was a song of hope, beauty, and love. He found, to his surprise, that part of the song was a love song about himself, Charlie. Somehow, he knew the song, or perhaps he had heard someone singing it to him long, long ago before his memory even existed. Other parts of the song were his own words of love to that previously unknown singer who had loved him before his existence. Now, of course, he knew the name of that unknown singer, and he could shout it out with confidence there in the darkness, even when facing the worst danger, knowing that the one who had always loved him would never fail, even if he, Charlie, went to his grave. It was easy for Gabe to join into Charlie's song, and he started singing immediately. The words came to him as if he and Charlie had written them together. Annika was slightly more reluctant and quieter, but she started humming and then singing along. Gathering their courage, the other children began to sing along as well. Some of them sang their own songs. Others just shouted yes or uh-huh to Charlie's song. The sound caused the snakes and Gondel to freeze and look around them in shock. The singing grew louder and louder and even seemed to echo from within the palace. Gondel put her hands over her ears and screeched a loud ear-splitting note and ran, white and frenzied, into her palace as if to escape the noise. As the children sang, a rumble began to echo throughout the cavern. It seemed to rise from somewhere deep beneath them, and it grew louder and louder until the whole room was shaking and heaving violently. Charlie, Annika, and Gabe could barely stand, but they kept on singing, now desperately. Louder! Charlie yelled, and with gusto they kept on. The palace, it's coming down! Gabe shouted with all his might. Move, Annika, move! It was a miracle that she heard him above all that noise. She dove forward and barely avoided being hit by a falling pillar. The singing of the children died down as the sounds of shattering began to resound all around. And like the thinnest glass, the castle crumbled to the ground in a heap. The snake slithered into the shattering ruins of the palace, sobbing, Mistress! Our mistress! They were foolish and rash, many of the snakes, cut themselves very deeply on the shards, and they bled to death. Others, more wisely, turned back to lunge on Gabe, Annika, and Charlie. These three children were too bold now to be hurt by the snakes. They glowed brightly from within, and the snakes, stunned and blinded, backed away from the children as quickly as they had turned on them. That's right! Get away from us! Gabe yelled, and took this opportune moment to finally do a karate kick. Annika laughed, the first laugh after all that tension. Good thing you practiced those kicks, Gabe. Yeah, he agreed. The palace, it is just, began one of the mining children, trailing off in dismay. Gone, concluded Charlie triumphantly. That was when they first heard the moans and cries coming from the piles of broken crystal. Help! Help us! They could make out a child's voice. The trapped children, Annika proclaimed. We have to get them out. Yes, Charlie agreed. Everyone be careful. Let's get them out and then let's go. Those children who had decided to go with Charlie, Annika, and Gabe, plus some others, for by now the group of onlookers had grown to about 15 children, began to trot over the fallen palace, carefully looking for the children who had for so long been prisoners. I found one, someone shouted. I need help moving this piece of crystal, came another shout. Ow! I just cut my leg, hollered someone else. It took a long time, and many of the children were themselves cut or injured. But when they were finished, they had carried 20 more children from the wreckage. There was no sign of the witch at all in the broken pieces. It was as if she had never existed at all. Maybe she escaped through the portal into our world, Gabe pondered aloud. The snakes occasionally tried to bite a child or hurt one, and they were successful a few times, but they were always kicked away again. For the most part, the snakes were frightened and slunk off into dark cracks in the wall to hide and mourn their loss. After all was said and done, the snakes were not so frightening. It was a wonder they had managed to control all those children for so long. Annika went around with the moss she had gathered and dabbed the cool wetness in the worst of the injuries, including the otherwise never healing snake bites. Every injury was healed within minutes, and the children who had been treated went straight to work helping the other rescuers. During the rescue mission, Charlie made his way all around the wreckage of the palace, partly to be sure that even at the very back, the children would be rescued, and partly out of curiosity of what might be back there. In the back, he found another door cut into the stone, so that it blended in almost to invisibility. It was just like the one at the beginning of the tunnel. His heart pounded when he saw it. This must be the exit that Nicanor told me about, he thought, and then he remembered. The doors will only open from the other side. His brain began to spin, wondering how they would get through, but feeling certain that it was the right way to go. Then he chuckled to himself. A door that leads right from the enemy's camp into paradise. It is all so close together, but still so far apart. The newly rescued children were full of tears and thanks. Some of them were so weak they could barely walk, and some of them were small and needed to be carried. Annika climbed onto a fallen pile and addressed the group that had reassembled. It has been a long day, she began, and before she could finish, she burst into tears of relief. She smiled out at the crowd of children, unashamed of her wet face. They broke into happy applause, then cheers, and then everyone was laughing. When the sound died down, she began again. It has been a long day, and we somehow won a great battle. We still have a long journey ahead of us back to Pertamayan. It will be worth it. Whoever wants to join us is welcome. Whoever doesn't can, of course, stay here. But don't even try to follow us. She glanced back towards the back of the room where several fearful children, including the large boy who had hit them over the heads with a stone, were skulking, not joining in, but looking rather upset. Then a good idea dawned on Annika, so she continued. If you plan to come with us, there are 2 requirements. The first is, you cannot bring your gold, silver, or jewelry with you. We have a long journey ahead of us, and you won't be able to travel well with it. You won't need it anyway when you're Hoan's children. You have to leave it here, she concluded firmly. A grumble of annoyance arose from the group of children listening to her. Some of them walked away, and others began to discuss with each other. There were a few who began to quickly and willingly rid themselves of their gaudy decor. Annika went on. Secondly, you must understand that in Hoan's kingdom, you must choose to act differently than you have acted here. You must stand together, not against each other, even if you don't like each other. We will start practicing this new way of life right away. Those of you who are strong will have to help those who are weak and hurt, so we can all make it together. Are you ready? Yes, came an excited response, and more clapping from those children who were still determined to leave. However, to Annika's surprise, this last part of her speech caused a few more children to turn away and from the group. She heard one boy, who she knew from her time of captivity, mumble about another boy who had been trapped in the castle walls. I won't help him. He stole all of my jewels and beat me up real bad one time. Yeah, agreed a companion. I don't know what she's talking about. I don't help people. And yet another added, I have always helped people. I don't need to go to Hoan's world to be preached at about how to live. I'd rather stay here. I think I've got it figured out well enough myself. Annika was tempted to follow those children and try to reason with them. But just then, Charlie jumped up beside her and motioned for quiet. I have found the door back to the outside world, he said. I am just not sure how to open it, but I do have a plan. I need 3 strong boys to help me, and you too, of course, Gabe, he said. Several boys raised their hands, and Charlie picked 3. All right, the rest of you wait here. We will come and get you, Charlie said. I'm hungry, came a voice from the crowd of children. This led to a general murmur of dissatisfaction. Usually the snakes bring our food. Yeah, our food comes from the palace that you just destroyed. What are we going to eat now? How quickly they turn, Annika sighed. Hey, before you go, give me your sugar candy, she demanded of Gabe and Charlie. Charlie has mine, remember? Gabe informed her. Oh yeah, she said, remembering that they had both given it to Charlie when they dove into the water. Here, Charlie handed her the little plastic bag, and then turned to lead his troops toward the door he'd found. Annika took the sweets and carried them over to a big rock. She took the plastic bag and threw it onto the rock, breaking the candy into many pieces. Then she took the bag over to the children and said, Hey, I will pass this around. Everyone only take 1 piece, please. I think there isn't enough for everyone, so only take a piece if you are really hungry. When we get outside, there will be a lot more food. She handed the bag off to the nearest child. The bag circulated, and to everyone's amazement, after it had made the first round, the bag was still full of the sweet sugar crystals. Okay, I'm going to pass it around again, Annika said, delighted, taking a piece for herself at last. Now everyone can have some. Again, when the bag returned to Annika, it was full. So she passed it around a third time, and still it was full. At last, she put it in the middle and said that anyone who was still hungry could help themselves. A few children did, but in the end, when everyone had had their fill, even though the portions were meager, there was still some candy left over. Annika mumbled her thanks to Ho-On, who she knew to be responsible for the provision. In the meantime, Charlie, Gabe, and their strong boys had gathered up some mining tools and made their way to the locked door. "Okay, here is my plan, guys," Charlie began. "I have this fire dust here. It is very powerful stuff and very bright. I'm going to count to 3 and then throw it on the door. When I do, you must not look at the flash or it will blind you. Believe me, I know because it happened to me. After it flashes, we must take our tools and all of us hit the stone with all our might. I have a theory that it might crumble if we hit it while it is hot." "Okay," they nodded, looking impressed and anxious to see the fire dust in action. "All right, remember, on 3, look away," Charlie instructed. And then he counted 1, 2, 3, and threw the whole contents of the box onto the door. All of the boys shielded their eyes, but they heard the whoosh of flames springing up and felt the heat of it. Charlie took a peek out and found that the door was flushed with heat, glowing and flashing. "Okay, guys, it is safe. Let's hit it." "Ah!" Gabe sounded a war cry and was the first to leap in and beat the thing with a pickaxe he had grabbed from the mining tools. The other boys joined in enthusiastically. On the 4th hit, cracks appeared in the door. "Oh, good! Keep going," Charlie said, and whacked it himself. Gabe took another swing at it, and crash! The stones came crumbling to the ground. "We did it!" shouted a boy who had joined them. "Yes!" said Charlie, very proud that his plan had worked. They stood there for a minute, waiting for the rocks to cool, and then Charlie leaned through the doorway. "The path visibly leads up. It must be the path that will take us out of here," he reported enthusiastically. "I will run and get Annika," said Gabe, and he sprinted back towards the group. "Get some water too, Gabe, to really cool these stones before we walk over them." "Okay," Gabe shouted over his shoulder. He ran to Annika and the children and informed her of the good news, and then asked for a bucket or something to carry some water over. The children supplied him with one, and he ran to the yellow fall and filled the bucket and then ran back. Charlie took the bucket and threw it over the hot stones, and steam leaped up from them. It was awful and green, not unlike the venom from the snake's teeth. It fumed up like a thick curtain and lingered in the air. A familiar face suddenly appeared in the stream, wicked and flashing at them. Gondel's voice rang out of the green mist. "I will never be defeated," she shrieked, and some of the children jumped back or turned to run in fear. "Oh, pickles, this is nothing but smoke," said Charlie, and waved his hand into the steam, dispersing it and causing the wicked face to disappear as quickly as it had appeared. "Here we go," he said, and plunged into the dark pathway that indeed led up and up. Several of the children went right along with him, but others hesitated, taken over by fear now that they were being called to leave their comfort zone. "Don't change your minds now, guys," Daldist encouraged them before following Charlie himself. Think how much you have already experienced. You have been fed, you have been healed, and the snakes are hiding. Think how much more we will see if we keep following Charlie." And that's the end of chapter 33. I think we have 3 chapters left of this book. So I hope you'll keep following till the end. God bless you.